The Australian government is at it again with their online safety codes. So they're seeking views from the public on the draft codes that they want to more than likely legislate. So we all know the Australian government right now is trying to catch up with China in terms of their monitoring of their citizens. So currently in Australia, these are legislated laws. Internet service providers need to essentially track the source communication of their customers. So the 4G and the 5G operators need to track the IMEI, so the SIM of their customer, and they need to track the source IP address of their customer and their port. They also need to track. This is what they consider metadata laws, so destination of the communication. So what IP address and port that their customer is talking to, so they can essentially know, basically have a very strong idea of what websites, servers that their customers are accessing. This is for the government. All internet service providers need to do this. The Telstras, the TPGs, the everyone needs to comply with this regulation forced by the government. And the date, time, and duration of the communication. Okay, so source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, date, time, duration, protocol. I think protocol is mentioned in here as well. So the IP, the UDP, TCP, that sort of stuff, right? So there, and the one that scares me, this one, the location of the equipment. So this is law, right? This is what every single internet service provider in Australia needs to do. The cell tower that your 4G phone is connected to, right? They essentially are logging all this information and giving it over to the government. And this, I just pulled up a cell tower map. So this is in Adelaide, by the way. This is the ACMA tower map, and you can see that this is a tower here with Telstra equipment on it. So if you were in this area and you were Telstra, you'll be connected to this tower, and they would essentially know you've been in this area. There's another tower here, so when you move around, they'll see you connecting to different towers. Um, you can do triangulation from these towers. It doesn't say that that is forced here, but I'm sure they probably are, right? All the big cellular providers are probably logging this sort of stuff and giving it over. So essentially, they're tracking your cell tower. So they know you've been in this area. They don't know exactly where you've been in this area, but yeah. So here's a tower here with Telstra, Optus, Vodafone 4G, 5G equipment installed on it. So if you're in this area, you'll be connected to this tower, so they know you've been within this area, right? Like I said before, you can triangulate this stuff more in a narrow from knowing the antenna that it's connected on to get a better idea of. It's called triangulation. The more strict location, but this doesn't specify that, so they're probably not doing that. But still concerning, right? If you're an Australian citizen, with a 4G or 5G phone, you are being your it won't be used. It's just logged in a server somewhere until you become of interest, and they pull up that data and everywhere you've been. Um, for what is it, 3 years, I believe, or 5 years. They got to store it. So that's the current China state, and now they want to pass these online safety codes. So they're getting views from the public. So once this is in effect, this code will create industry-wide protections for Australians in relations to materials such as C word, that bad stuff, yep, bad stuff, extreme crime and violence. Okay, those sound good. So their intentions, like, not, I mean, yeah, those are all bad things, but their intentions are right, stopping these bad things from happening. You sort of get won't somebody please think of the children vibes from this? Um, so how are they going to do this? It's going to be enforced by the Office of E-Safety Commission, 8 sectors. Okay, a lot of sectors are going to be involved. Social media, so they want Facebook to do something, TikTok, blah, 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 YouTube, electronic services, Australian websites, internet service providers, hosting providers, so lots of stuff. Let's take a look at the actual list on what they see. This is the document here, and they want social media services, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, to do stuff. SMS services, Gmail, WhatsApp. They want to regulate them to do stuff. Designated internet services, so Dropbox, Google Drive, storing where you're backing up stuff. Search engines, Google Search, Bing, DuckDuckGo, they want them to do stuff for them. This is interesting. The App Store, they want Apple, iOS, and Google Play Store to do stuff. Hosting services, okay, this is where a lot of stuff is hosted. So AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Vultr, DigitalOcean, all of them, but they, for some reason, put in NetDC. I don't know what NetDC is, but there's NextDC in Australia, which is like an Equinix data center where they provide co-location racks and cross connects, and the like the AWS's, the Azures usually use their co-location. Well, not usually, but sometimes I believe will. I know the Vultures and that do probably. They're not building their own data centers. AWS might be, but yeah, they use these. So I don't know how they expect the physical co-location and cross-connect provider to monitor any of this stuff, which is insane to me. They want this, so that's the scary one, right? They want hosting providers to essentially spy on your VPS and do stuff. Internet service providers, so your Telstra, your iiNet, your Optus, your TPG, they want them to do stuff. And the manufacturers, this is an interesting one. So modems, routers, televisions, phones, they want, this is crazy. I don't know. Do they want the OS providers like to do stuff? The Windows, the Apple iOS to do stuff? Do they want to somehow force the Linux community, open source community to do spyware to stop this sort of stuff? I don't know what they want here. This is crazy to me. So let's take a look at their codes. So looking at that list, Facebook, they're not going to allow this. The Instagrams, they're not going to allow this. These bad things mentioned. I can't say them on YouTube probably. Not that I care about monetization or anything, but like I'm not going to monetize. No one's probably even going to watch this video. But these bad words will probably, I don't know. I don't like saying them as well because they're bad, right? So they want. So let's take a look at their codes. This is. So yeah, sorry. The Facebooks and that are probably already doing this. This is just probably a legal framework for them. The SMS, I don't know. The Googles, I don't know. It's interesting how they're going to respond. Google search, they probably don't put this stuff in their search results. DuckDuck might, but I don't know. The hosting, I think these two are the most interesting to me. These are the backbones of the internet. So we've got internet service providers. Without them, you can't access the internet. You can't access any of this stuff, right? The hosting services, this is where a lot of this stuff is hosted, right? Without installing your own server in, say, an XDC or an Equinix, you have to use one of these sort of providers, right? Or installing one at home. I guess you can do that to get around if somehow NextDC is monitoring what you're doing, which I don't see how because they provide physical stuff, not IT stuff. So I don't know what's going on there. But they're the most concerning, right? The hosting and the internet service providers. So probably apart from the OS. Oh wow, as well as operating system providers. Okay, this is crazy. Supplying, maintaining, installing equipment which supplies all this. All right, this is the base of everything, right? Because if you don't have a device and an OS, you can't connect to internet service providers, which connect you to all the rest of this, right? Which connects you to the Facebook, to the YouTube, to the whatever, right? This is interesting. So I'm taking a look at so the Class 1A and Class 1B material. Industry, so they're going to force the OS providers and device makers to go to industry forums. Communications with eSafety, okay, force them to talk to them. Transparency, interesting. Very interesting. Safe of use equipment online. Tools an OS provider must take reasonable steps to develop them implement tools within operating systems that allow Australian end users to help reduce the risk of harm to children. Won't somebody please think of the children, for God's sake? An OS provider for children. Whoa, okay, this is staff. Provision of information about the safety equipment. Okay, right to complain. Link to eSafety's form, handling code complaints, annual reporting. Okay. So it looks like, from a technical point of view, they do need to make tools to help stop children, I guess. That's interesting. They do want these OS providers to do some invasive spyware sort of stuff. Right. So let's go to the next stop, which is so you need a device, and then you got your internet service provider, which is the backbone of all this stuff to work, right? Without this, you can't access any of this stuff. So let's have a look at what they're going to force the internet service providers to do. Compliance measures. Okay, ensuring children can't acquire an internet service provider service without, some checks. Informing users who produce okay. Right, that's some document stuff. Don't create bad stuff on the internet. Engaging with eSafety on the development of government blocking. Okay, so they want to be able to block. So CSEM. So that's the child S word exploit. Yeah, material. So the bad stuff. CSEM stands for Internet engage with on the development of a protocol to block access to certain domains which contain domain, so the ISP DNS server. But if the customer's using like a Google DNS server, then I guess they might want the internet service provider to do some layer 7 FQDM blocking or even URL blocking potentially. So I don't know how a big one like a Telstra or whatever will be able to push their huge amounts of traffic through layer 7 firewalls without spending millions on new firewalls. So the firewall providers, the Palo Altos, are probably licking their lips on this sort of bill coming through. They're going to make heaps of dollary doos, like many dollary doos, if this sort of stuff forces those companies to buy from them. So yeah, that's ensuring. Okay, we already saw that. Informing end users. Okay. Notifying hosting service providers if the internet service provider becomes aware of Class 1A materials. So they want to force the internet service provider to notify the hosting service provider. Are they saying that internet service providers need to somehow monitor for Class 1A material being hosted on a hosting service provider and then inform them? Or are they sort of, I don't know how an internet service provider will comply with that. It seems pretty insane unless it's from customers complaining about bad stuff being on the internet, and then, but even then, if that should just go to the eSafety, and then they can do a Whois IP and figure out uh, the the hosting service provider that owns that server, and then contact them. Why does it have to be done through the internet service provider unless the hosting service provider is behind a internet service provider IP address potentially? That's the only scenario I can think of there. But most will be like your vultures or whatever. Uh, you find a bad website, you do a NS lookup on that domain name, and then you figure out the IP. You do a Whois IP, and you go, okay, this is a vulture IP. Then you contact vulture. You don't contact the internet service provider. So I don't know what's going on there. That's interesting, engaging. Okay, we already saw that. Showing Australian end users on how to limit access. Okay, there's more paperwork on Australian users to write to set up their own firewalls. I don't I don't know what's going on there. Ensuring Australian end users are advised of family. Okay, what the right? More marketing for the Online Safety Commission, I guess. Ensuring complaints. Okay, end users are allowed to make complaints about bad stuff on the internet. So the customer is in the internet police now, and the internet service provider will be spammed with emails. I don't know how they're going to comply with this, since they're probably only making $20 to $30 a month off that customer. So it would have to be automated because you can't put the human power behind that sort of stuff. Forward all emails relating to this to the Online eSafety Commission to investigate. I don't know. Seems pretty insane to me. Safety information reporting. Okay, so that is interesting. That's just phase one. So it's not even the end game from the looks of it. And this is the bad material. I agree that it's bad. Their intentions sound good, but I don't think this is the way of doing it. Censoring the internet is something I am not for, and that looks like they want every IT realm to be involved with this censorship. I don't know how the Australian government is going to force US companies to comply with this sort of stuff. It seems insane to me. So yeah, I'm hoping we can get the mental outlaws, so the Giga Nerds, the hated one, the Joe Rogans or whatever, to be aware of this sort of crazy stuff that's happening in Australia. We'll yeah, we know about this. There's the English pommy guy that complains about stuff. I forget his name off the top of my head. Why is that out of my head right now? I don't know. You guys know the pommy guy that complains about stuff. He needs to know about this. Because this is crazy. And we already saw what the Australian government forces their internet service providers to capture. This is essentially the almost the Edward Snowden NSA's spying sort of. This is legislated in Australia. This is what the NSA was doing to the US citizens. As we saw in the Edward Snowden leaks, and the movie was good. So yeah, this is already legislated. This is just more expanding on the powers that they can force businesses to execute on. Because Yeah, that's what they do. They force businesses to do their bidding through legislation. Pretty sure no one's going to watch this, but I thought I'd put it out there. This is what the Australian government wants to make law, and it seems to be bipartisan. So these sort of laws get passed through bipartisanly. Even this crazy stuff here that they have legislated was bipartisanly passed. It's not like one party is the one doing it. It's both. All of them are in on it. They want this. They want more power. So yeah, this is Australia right now. I wonder what China's laws look like. It'd be interesting to get an English translation of their legislation and see how it compares. I have a feeling that it might be. Obviously, China's is worse, but it's getting close. I'm just a concerned citizen. So yeah. All right. Farewell.